Good morning, everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to welcome you to the July 2025 ChamberCast at Bellworks with the Monmouth Regional Chamber of Commerce. I'm Terrence Wall, your host and co-founder of the ChamberCast. I want to thank Bellworks and the wonderful founder of the Metroburb here, Ralph Zucker. Appreciate all of the wonderful things he's doing. They're now in Chicago and over in Fort Monmouth. Incredible things happening with his team. The Monmouth Regional Chamber of Commerce The ChamberCast is designed to give actionable information to families and businesses every month with fantastic topics that leave you with information that you can use for yourselves, your families, and your businesses. And today is a very special and important topic. We're talking about crime. We're talking about the folks that are dedicated to keeping us safe, that are protecting our communities. And this is designed to engage and inform the public with what they're seeing, what the trends are, what's happening from their perspective, and how it integrates with the communities, the neighborhoods, and the schools, and the next generation of leaders, our children, and how we can dovetail their efforts together to keep our communities safe. We're going to go around the room in a little bit, but I want to tell you about our fantastic lineup. I have to start with Victor Iannelli. Victor Iannelli is the CEO and president of Crime Stoppers in Monmouth County. He brings over 30 years of experience in financial services and technology, including roles at IBM and Citibank. He's a retired small business owner and holds many credentials in both the financial and insurance benefit industries. And exceptionally important to this country, he's a U.S. Army veteran. Victor served as a first lieutenant with the 82nd Airborne Division in Vietnam. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
For you and your peers in the military, and all the folks in the military, this country would not be what it is without you. Freedom is not free, and for the folks here, we understand that and appreciate everything that you do. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Terrence.
My pleasure. Victor also holds a BS in marketing and an MBA in international business from Seton Hall University as well. Smart man. Thank you, sir, for being here. We have Michael DeLuca, the canine guy. Michael DeLuca is a founder and CEO and a very famous, lovely creature. Oh, he's being modest, a little camera shy there. Founder and CEO of DeLuca Security Solutions, DSS, a specialized firm providing explosive detection, executive protection using canine teams, protective driving services, and professional training for law enforcement and security personnel. He's a 20-year law enforcement veteran, currently serving as a canine unit supervisor at the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office, one of the most fantastic sheriff's offices in the country, overseeing both the executive protection unit and explosive detection canine unit. Since 2014, he has led high-level protection details for corporate executives, public officials, and dignitaries across a range of sensitive environments. Michael became a certified canine handler in 2017 and continues to deploy dogs trained in explosive detection to secure critical infrastructure and public venues. And you're going to learn about that today. He's also a New Jersey Police Training Commission certified instructor, certified in defensive tactics, baton techniques, handcuffing procedures, chemical agents, and physical conditioning. Needless to say, I'm going to behave myself next to you today.
Thank you. Make it easy.
And he's also trained as an emergency medical responder, as are the folks that we have. We're very fortunate to have two of Holmdel's finest here today with us, and we're going to hear what detectives, both detectives, Corrigan and Detective McGuire are here with us today, and they're tied to the local community, but these issues on safety and crime, they impact all of us, both in the county, locally in the county and also the region. And they're going to help educate and inform on what's happening with the trends that they're seeing and what kind of tools and techniques they're deploying today out in the field, particularly on things like cybercrime and some of the more advanced theft that folks are falling prey to. And we appreciate very much all of you being here today. Can we have a round of applause, please? Thank you. So what we'd like to do before we jump in, if we can go around the room, Jeannie, so folks can introduce themselves. And just as a by the way, we are streaming live on Facebook and also on YouTube as well. So the information that you hear today, you can share it with your friends and family. Thank you.
Chief Frank Alaka, Holmdel Township Police Department.
Thank you, Chief.
Good morning, Gail Bonus. I'm the Administrative Specialist for the Monmouth Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I'm looking forward to your presentation. My name is Therese Rolke. I'm the Executive Director of the Monmouth Regional Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning. I'm Tara Demianovich. I'm a proud member of the Monmouth Regional Chamber Board, and I also work for Community Affairs and Resource Center, a nonprofit assisting people in need with housing, lead remediation, and many more programs.
Thank you.
Gary Gelman, Gelman Images, full service photography, video production, celebrating our 37th year, based in Spring Lake now.
Thank you. And you just got back from Italy, where you were filming.
I photographed the Pope twice.
Yes. Wow. Woo.
James Davis here with FC Monmouth, Monmouth County's men's and women's soccer team.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Miriam Baresh. I'm a financial advisor in the area. I'm looking forward to the presentation.
Hi, Al Aloisi on the Monmouth Regional Chamber Board. Also an independent insurance advisor. I shop around to find the best rates for your life insurance, health, annuities, a higher level of service. Al Aloisi.
Thank you, Al.
And a tennis pro.
Good morning. My name is Teresa. I'm from CSAV Systems. We provide audio-visual solutions for different facilities based in Colts Neck.
Thank you.
I'm talking for all four of us. Mazda Recycling, we do trash and recycling services, also permanent roll-off, and mulch, topsoil, and all the above.
Thank you.
John Idelson, Game Day Men's Health, right here in Holmdel. It's we're the coolest doctor's office you'll ever go to. We do hormone replacement to make men feel like them younger selves again.
Good morning, everyone. Alex Neal. I'm a women's empowerment coach, and I help divorced or separated women to rediscover who they are and build a life they love on their terms.
Good morning. Mark Lamhut, Paul Mark Printing. We've been chamber members since 1964, and I'm also here on behalf of Crime Stoppers with Victor.
Thank you so much. I don't know if I missed anybody. I'm Jeannie Wall, and I'm the owner of Tap Into for Holmdel, Colts Neck, Middletown, Hazlitt, Keyport. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're going to get started. I'd like to start with Detective John McGuire and Detective James Corrigan. And the reason is because, you know, the folks that are on the front lines of seeing crime and dealing with it and navigating it, you can speak to what's happening today, because we're going to get also into how folks can report it and send it and get it to the authorities, and because we want to get involved in Crime Stoppers and everything that they're doing, and what's happening with technology today to advance stopping crime and getting ahead of it so it doesn't start in the first place. Can either of you share what you're seeing out there right now in the field, and what's happening that's like newer as far as technology?
Yeah, with the increase of technology, especially social media, we're seeing tons of fraud, ID thefts, and scams, as you're aware. So a lot of elderly folks will get phone calls, text messages pretending to be family members. Hey, I got into a car accident. I need you to send me money. This is more so done through phone calls. And they'll pretend, they're like, oh, your son's been in an accident. They're like, oh, my son John. And they're like, yeah, your son John, you need to send $3,000 and you need to go to the bank. So we're seeing scams like this. Even a lot of younger people are getting scammed, especially through Facebook Marketplace. We've seen multiple incidents where people will meet up in parking lots and give counterfeit money to buy electronics, like laptops and stuff like that. Especially, and people are actually even gotten robbed in Township, where they meet up, the person looks at the item and they snag it from them and drive off. So it's very dangerous. So the best piece of advice that I can give is that if you're going to meet up with some random person through Facebook Marketplace or even through Instagram, maybe do it at the Holmdel Police Headquarters or do it in a very public place where there's multiple people. But even then, your best bet is to do it through in the Township of Holmdel, like at the police quarters.
Yes.
Yeah, to follow up on what Jimmy had said, what we're seeing a lot too with the vulnerable community, the elderly, as we said, is the targeted people. It's a phishing attacks. So they'll be receiving either emails, or if someone's able to access their personal computer, they'll click on a pop-up and lead them to essentially what we're seeing a lot of now is Bitcoin. So they'll be asking elderly people to respond to ATMs, and we'll see them in a lot of convenience stores, things like that, crypto ATMs, and that's the hardest thing to track, because with the blockchain, a lot of times once that's gone, if it's not on a wallet that we can transfer or track, then we're going to lose that money. So we've seen an uptick in that recently with people asking for Bitcoins and gift cards. So the one thing we can tell, like, one, the IRS is never going to, send you an email or a phone call. They do everything through mail. Same with motor vehicle. The motor vehicle one, I think everyone's been getting that you have an easy pass violation, your registration or your license is going to be suspended, and then they're clicking on that link, giving access to their phone, and essentially, if I can access your email and your bank statements now I can access your personal computer as well.
All right. And Victor, as far as when it ties into Crime Stoppers, what kind of crimes can you tell us about Crime Stoppers? And what kind of trends are you seeing from, because crime is technology, but it's also folks being assaulted, other types of terrible things, terrible illegal things. Now, Monmouth County, the statistics are, it's one of the safer counties, and we should talk about that a little bit. But what kind of intake do you have in Crime Stoppers, and can you describe Crime Stoppers to folks so they understand what it is, how it works, and how they could participate?
How much time do I have?
3 hours. That's what the chief said.
Crime Stoppers is a community-based organization where we work with local law enforcement. Crime Stoppers USA was started in 1976. Our chapter was started in 2013. It allows tipsters to report crimes anonymously and get a reward. They can report those crimes either on a website, an 800 number, and more recently what's called a P3 app. That's P as in Papa, 3 app, where they can download that and communicate. What's important is that all communications to a national call center, by whatever means, are anonymous. That is, we do not track them. When there's an arrest made, our board of directors decides on the size of the reward, up to $5,000, and we communicate that back to the prosecutor's office, who would then communicate that back to the tipster. And they can go to one of our local banks and pick up the reward in a bag of cash. So that's Crime Stoppers. Typically what happens is when there's a crime in the community and they run out of leads in the prosecutor's office and local law enforcement, they will fill out a template which we will post to social media looking for a specific type of person for a specific type of crime. Again, if the tipsters recognize that individual and report it, they can get a reward. Every year we solve about a dozen cases, from fentanyl, other drugs, reclaiming property, felony assaults, white-collar crimes, outstanding warrants. And I think the fact is that Monmouth County is relatively safe, so we do not have the number and types of crimes that you might find, say, in New York City.
And speaking to that, we're just coming off a horrific tragedy and crime yesterday in New York City. If you'd like to speak to that, it's under investigation still, of course, but how do businesses protect from these? This was the attack in New York where folks were killed. The assailant also died, the attacker, go into a building in broad daylight with a long gun, M4. Can you speak to not so much that, but feel free, how do businesses plan, how do they keep their businesses safe? Could you speak to that, Michael?
I would say proper detection as far as boots on the ground, uniform security, CCTV, working in cooperation with local law enforcement. Where my company comes in, again, we bring in canines. We use a lot more for a show of force. Pointy-eared dogs such as German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, they are a great de-escalation and deterrent factor. Anybody thinking of doing anything would be weary. I've even seen it in my law enforcement career, back when you could use a canine to deter and de-escalate and get someone to surrender. Those guidelines have changed since then. But that would at least take the focus. If someone is that focused, I believe, on causing harm to everyone like that, their first target would probably be the dog and the handler. And that's what we sign up for. That's the job. But at least someone may think twice and say, hey, you know what? That's not a soft target. I'm not going to hit that target.
Anybody else want to say anything to that?
Yes, I'm a very big believer in concealed carry. The police cannot be every place all the time, and I also have a concealed carry permit, but I think in many cases the public can intervene until the police get there, as has been the case in several instances, as we've seen. And with the recent Supreme Court condition, there's been a lot of a decision. I think there's been a lot of concealed carry permits issued in New Jersey.
Thank you for that. Now, while we're on K9, you've got to introduce us to this
Hey, buddy, come here.
beautiful K9 officer.
So this is
and
K9.
a little bit about the background. When I was the administrator in Jackson, we brought in K9. There's a bomb dog and a drug dog as well. Can you go over a little bit about the background of K9 to help educate folks, because they're used even in electronic surveillance?
Yes. Yeah, he's very loving.
He wants to make sure you do a really good job here.
So
now.
as you can see, K9 Guy, this is K9 Guy. He's a 3-year-old English Labrador, very social. He actually, a little background on him is he was supposed to be a seeing eye dog originally. He failed for being too social, too much play drive and food drive, which is what you look for though in a detection dog. He excelled in bomb detection, and that's what his job is currently. But there's different types of canines, again, explosive detection, narcotics detection, electronic detection now, which is becoming very big. It's great in locating thumb drives, any type of SD cards. A lot of it's used for child endangerment and child pornography cases, helping to locate where those items would be hidden through the use of search warrants and good police work. The Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office got one this year, and apparently they're busy as anything right now, which is great, helping keep our most vulnerable safe. We also have tracking bloodhounds, which are great. They again find our most vulnerable, missing autistic children, people with Alzheimer's, and down at tracking criminals as well. There's also arson detection dogs. The state police have them, and as well as cadaver dogs. They don't get much use, luckily. That the cases of arson haven't been great in New Jersey, and hopefully the location of human remains is not in high demand.
And what is it about the physiology, the dog themselves, where they're trained to? How do they do it? How do they do what they do?
So their olfactory senses are probably like 10,000 times our normal smelling measures. And what it is it takes anywhere from 10 to 13 weeks to imprint a dog on their target odor. So K9 Guy's imprinted on explosive odors. It took about 11 to 12 weeks to get him imprinted on that. And as he can recognize and properly be rewarded for each odor he identifies, there's guidelines that you have to use to imprint them. He's imprinted by National Police Canine Association guidelines. And that's the thing with my company, DeLuca Security Solutions. We follow the law enforcement gold standard of training, record keeping. The private sector is, I want to say, has less regulation and more lax, but I want those specific standards for my clients and them to know that they're getting the gold standard of canine detection work.
So walk us through a case study, perhaps the detectives can, where it integrates with, there's a hit, maybe it's through Crime Stoppers, there's a hit there's an issue that comes up, a case, can you walk us through a little bit what the process is and the integration, for example, when you call out a canine unit for deployment?
So I had a specific, it doesn't apply to K9, but we can get back to that, but we did have a specific tip a few months ago that came through what Victor was talking about. P3 is how we're notified through Monmouth County Crime Stoppers. So we all receive an email with that tip. It was in regards to a pop-up party. We have an abandoned, we'll call it a mansion in town that has become quite popular on social media. So somebody sent us TikTok posts and Snapchat videos of someone that was planning a pop-up party there, trying to get essentially every high school student in Monmouth County. They refer to it, it's a little bit dated, but Project X was a movie about a similar scenario, and they're referring to it as a Project X party. But Detective Corrigan and I, through social media, were able to identify the person who posted it was a juvenile, so we can't get into too much detail, but we were able to speak to the parents. They removed all of the postings, and it never came to fruition, which was nice. But essentially, when we do get somebody, if it's narcotics activity, things like that, if we do surveillance, and we'll work with the county prosecutor's office and the sheriff's office, and if it comes to like a search warrant, if it reached that level, they'd have their dogs out there for the search.
Thank you for that. Let's stick with the kids for a little bit here, because we hear about Snapchat, fentanyl, overdoses, which are really poisonings rather than an overdose, right? It's technically an overdose, it's poisoning, really, a murder, really, with these, the one pill can kill. Can you speak a little bit about those crimes and how parents can arm themselves or educate themselves to be mindful to ensure that they don't fall victim, or that they protect their children?
Yeah, I'll just speak personally. I do this a lot. And Terrence, we have a very good relationship with the schools. Yeah. We have a lot of programs with the schools. We do LEAD in 6th grade, where we're not, it's a good program because it's 10 weeks. You build a relationship with the students, and you're not just hitting them over the head with, drugs, but you're building a backstory, taking care of their bodies, realizing that you only have one life to live, essentially. And we just started a new program with Officer Nolan, our school resource officer, called Not Even Once, where they actually bring in former drug users and in some cases drug dealers to talk about that experience. But me personally, I have three boys, 16, 14, and 8. And I talk to a lot of parents dealing with being the juvenile officer. A lot of parents feel like they want to, let their children have some semblance of privacy, and I understand that. But when you're talking about your children's health and well-being, like checking their phone, seeing who they're talking to, things like that, I mean, you want to be protective. And a lot of people, well, it's their phone, it's their this. Well, it's your phone, and by law, it's your phone. You can search their phone. They have no right to privacy, their phone, their room, electronics, anything like that. And then sometimes it's easier to have that conversation, like, hey, I'm upfront with my kids. I tell them, I'm going to be going through your phone, things like that. And we did a program with the school last year where we gave instructions on how to, go to deleted messages, things like that. When you get into social media, Snapchat, it's a little bit different. Once they delete a message from their phone, it's gone for good. But that would be my advice. I know it may be, not the best. People might not take it as the best advice, but having that knowledge is the only way you're going to prevent something like that happening.
Thank you for that. And, Victor is mentioning the Crime Stoppers and the anonymous reporting platforms. I'll give you an example that I'm familiar with the program. It's called Stop It, which they're headquartered in this building. I believe they're still here, where they're in a parking lot of a school. There were a couple of cars. There's somebody was selling drugs to minors, to students there. There was another student, was not Holmdel, it was another student who saw it and thought to participate with the anonymous app piece. By the time the drug deal, there was no drug deal. By the time the drug deal would have been completed, and whatever that perhaps poison would have been delivered, there were police on the location before it was even consummated and arresting the drug dealer. Just an example, and maybe you have other examples, Victor, you can share of how it works in practice, because a lot of folks, maybe it's been this way for a long time, but it seems more active now. Folks aren't getting as involved, it seems sometimes. They're not engaging and realizing that we all have to work together to keep the next generation safe. Do you want to speak to that, Victor?
Well, law enforcement has come up with a saying, if you see something, say something. Yeah. And that, I think, originated after 9/11 with terrorism, but it certainly applies for local crime. The problem is, in many communities, people are reticent to contact the police. I'm sure you've heard the expression, snitches get stitches. So Crime Stoppers allows tipsters to report crimes anonymously. But with the P3 app, it's real time, because that information immediately goes from a call center. Let's say the crime is in Monmouth County, or say Holmdel, goes into a call center anonymously. it's transmitted up to the Intelligence Bureau at the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office. They see the type of crime it is and where it's was, say, Holmdel. So they assign it to the specific detectives in the prosecutor's office, and this go out to the specific town, Holmdel. They then work the crime, but they're able to work the crime almost immediately because the technology gives you a real-time reporting system. And we've had that where people have been driving dangerously and have actually caught those people before they completed their trip.
And so technology is evolved. Crime Stoppers has evolved with the technology, because right, it used to be probably a phone number, an 800 number, and now it's
right. It used to be a phone number, a text, and an 800 number. Now it's a phone call, a website, and the P3 app. The beautiful part about the P3 app is after the tipster sends that tip in and the National Call Center routes it to the Intelligence Bureau in the prosecutor's office, they can go back to the tipster anonymously and say, hey, you said it was a 6'2" white male. You never told us what he was wearing. Or you never told us if there was someone else with that person. So you can actually dialogue back and forth with the tipster anonymously, which goes a long way compared to the old ways when people just called in on a phone and you could never get back to them.
Well, it's wonderful that there's so many layers of security that are available to folks, and so much of it is just communication and education. Let's talk about personal security for folks, and how individuals can keep themselves safe. Would you share any, from your experience, common guidance that folks may not be thinking about, if we can, from the folks at Holmdel PD or yourself, Michael? What's your advice to individuals in the workplace to maintain their own personal security? What should they be looking out for, or what are the common guides that you would share with them to protect themselves?
Well, I would say, again, see something, say something is one of the biggest ones. The best way is to have everybody involved. It's not just the security personnel. It's not just upper management. Everyone from the entry-level position to the high-level management needs to have awareness, some sort of training just to give them guides of what to look for. And again, that staffing and technology. There's grants out there too. A lot of corporate security, that stuff is a write-off for them. Executive protection is a write-off as well. I believe that was passed either in the late 80s or early 90s, where Congress had made it where it was more affordable. I think it really winds up costing a company pennies on the dollar. Again, it depends on how crazy they want to go with technology as well. But I still say that you can't, the human mind is the most and best weapon in defense. And it's just hiring that right employee. In today's market, just proper screening, looking for someone with that background, whether it's law enforcement, military, or a security background that they've been doing it and they have a proven record of success. That's going to be huge.
And from even big companies, the apparent murder of the UHC executive, as lay people wondering where was the security there? Has that changed the way that businesses are looking at security for their executives, and how so?
There's been a lot of changes. They've upped the security imprint, upped their executive or their principal's profile. Sometimes, though, the only problem is perhaps the principal wants a little time to themselves. They don't want that overcrowding of security, but that's where that United Health executive maybe left that open window for opportunity. He wanted less security at that time. Again, it's more you have to do open source media threat assessments. Look at what your company is being threatened with. Have you made a new a public outcome that you're going in a direction this way, which is not popular to most people? Unfortunately, the political agenda, the profits of companies. People are feeling angry nowadays. Things are less affordable. Times are tough, so they're taking it out on the companies, the corporate executives. Pop-up protests and everything. These are things you have to be aware of. Again, watching that open source media is huge to see what's coming your way, and looking at the threat assessments for your company. It's just huge. You have to be very proactive in it.
And for our police, our whole local police, what do you see as far as that issue, that topic?
So like I say here, so this is one of our largest buildings in town. There's visible presence. We have armed security here. A lot of what we see with it, we're not seeing a lot of with like burglaries and retail theft, things like that. They're mostly is more the cases that we're coming across. As far as like protection, a lot of buildings now have key cards for access. They're essentially fortresses if you don't have access to that building. But you'll still see lobbies in some office buildings that we have in town that are open. But I guess target hardening essentially would be the advice.
What would be examples of that?
Yeah.
What would be examples?
So like for a lot of what we deal with is residential, right? Residential burglaries, things like that. So we actually have a program. It's run by Sergeant John Martin. Where he'll come out, do a survey of your residents. I believe business as well, and kind of just give pointers that you could have a camera here, maybe want to install a deadbolt lock on this door as opposed to just having a handle lock, things like that. So we do have a program available. If anybody is interested, they can reach out to Sergeant Martin and take advantage of that. But yeah, target hardening, essentially, I always refer back to the schools because that's where I was for, almost 4 years. Once the school day starts and we're in, like, no one's coming in unless, we're allowing them in. We have armed security in the schools as well with the class 3s. That's, I think, the 7th year will be this year.
That's a great program.
We're ahead of the curve on that. So that's essentially what you need to do. Whether you want to use, like I said, DeLuca Security Systems or Solutions, my apologies, or if it's a residence, Sergeant Martin is available for the residents of Holmdel.
Yeah, and even giving another tip when it comes to home protection, people underestimate the power of your neighbors. Get to know your neighbors because they obviously see your house every single day and they notice trends like specific vehicles, where you guys park. Oh, this person goes to work at this time of day. Get to know your neighbors because a lot of times, a lot of tips that we get and a lot of information that we get are from the neighbors. Like we'll get phone calls being like, hey, there's a suspicious person in my neighbor's driveway and I've never seen it before. And every once in a blue moon, it turns out to be somebody who's trying to break into a vehicle, into a house. So get to know your neighbors. And, like we said, we have the Neighborhood Watch program, and we have monthly meetings where we update the residents and tell them what to do. We give them tips, and it's a great program. But like I said, for people watching this, get to know your neighbors and let them know, like, hey, like, here's my phone number. If you see something, say something. And, like, especially, like, if they see somebody walking up to the front porch to take an Amazon package, they're like, wait, I don't recognize that person. And then they contact us. So people really underestimate the power of friends and neighbors in the community. So,
question: how have Ring cameras, door cams, how have they impacted security and served perhaps as a tool? Should I just say something?
No, it's actually a fantastic tool. And like I said, I always recommend people to get really good cameras, not even on your front door, because, these people who are breaking into these homes, most of these guys are professionals. They're not just going to kick down the front door. So having a 360 of your house is very important. And I know it costs money, but it's also like it's a good investment in my opinion. And like I said, these guys are professionals. They know what they're doing. So the best thing, and even when we get camera footage or we get like still photos of the vehicle that they're using, we can contact that out to every single agency in the state. Like, hey, has anyone had any incidents with this type of vehicle, with this person wearing these type of clothing? And you'd be surprised. Like, you'd get an agency like 3 counties away being like, yes, I do recognize that car. Like, we had an incident 2 days ago and we actually got a license plate off of that. So having great cameras, that point out into your driveway or even closer to the street, or a 360, even like somebody wearing like a specific baseball hat or specific shoes, we can send it out to like the Auto Theft Task Force with the New Jersey State Police, and they can be like, you know what, we recognize that one kid or that one guy, he was wearing that specific hoodie and sneakers 2 days ago, and we actually got an ID, he wasn't wearing a mask that day. You'd be surprised. Like, we get a lot of information with these cameras, so it is a fantastic tool.
And if they are sophisticated, how is their work disrupted? Because if they're even not sophisticated, they know there are Ring cameras everywhere. Are they blocking their plates? Are they what?
Yeah, I mean, it gets difficult because sometimes they're using stolen vehicles. Okay. But like I said, like when you're in communication, like New Jersey has a phenomenal program, especially with the Auto Theft Task Force, where we have great communication. And like I said, guys like up north, they monitor these like stolen vehicles, and they'll know, like, even they can recognize people from the face up, but like I said, these guys are professionals breaking into these homes. They're using stolen vehicles. They're using hats, masks, hoodies. So it's very tough to identify them. That's why it's so important to have good cameras for the police departments to communicate and just keep in contact. And we actually, because a lot of times other departments will help you solve crimes. Like we help certain communities or police departments solve crimes and vice versa.
Thank you, Victor.
Hey, I'd like to weigh in on this from a couple of sides. One is our community had some drug deals. We brought in the Freehold Township Police, and our security system is now linked and monitored by the Freehold Township Police. So if we see something, we can immediately call, and they have a record of that. But I think the second thing is we have too many judges, mayors, governors that are too soft on crime, and we need to replace these people where when somebody commits a crime, they go to jail for a long time, not get back out to do it again and again and again. And I don't think the public understands the ramification of the system we have today and how it lets offenders keep going back multiple times without any punishment.
Fair points, and I can tell you from the folks that I know, they strongly support law enforcement. They back the blue and everything that you do 100% without any doubt. And along those lines of the citizenry, Holmdel Township Police Department has fantastic, long-standing programs that interact and communicate with the with the residents. You spoke briefly about Neighborhood Watch. Can you perhaps just describe what that is, and if there are other programs or newer programs that you're working with, particularly with the youth in town, the schools, if there's something new or different, and how can the local population, whether it's in Holmdel or in any community, anywhere, how can they support their local law enforcement and all the work that the municipality's doing, that the county's doing, and the other folks that are involved in keeping folks safe, like Victor's company?
So we have a number of programs, like you said, Terrence. We're just finished our third Citizen Police Academy, where we're bringing in citizens. I believe it's 10 weeks. We sort of break down every function of the department. We'll have specialized units, we'll go over patrol. The first aid and the fire department are also involved, so they get to see how we work together with them. I think it can be eye-opening. It's a small, bucolic, beautiful town, but there's a lot that goes on here, and I think people realize, and to Jimmy's point, just reporting things. We let them know that don't hesitate to call, because people are like, I don't want to bother. That's what we're here for. Please bother us, because we'd rather you bother us, find out that it's unfounded, as we refer to it. But it could be something. It could be someone looking at a residence, looking at vehicles, things like that. And if we can get any piece of information, it may not lead to an arrest at that point, but it might prevent something from happening down the road. So we have the Citizen Police Academy. Next week we're starting our Youth Academy. We've been doing that, I don't know how many years. So that's 2 weeks. We have children, I think it's 9 through 12, split up into 2 weeks. So they get sort of the same thing, an abbreviated version, see how the department works. We have our canine officer, Daryl Jackson, and his partner, Murph. It's tough to follow the canine. Everybody loves it. When we do the Citizens Police Academy, Daryl usually goes first, and then I get to talk to people about juvenile, and I don't know if I have their full attention all the time.
Well, the Youth Academy is fantastic. Our son went to one of the programs there, and it's not just about policing. It's about living. It's about leadership. It's about looking out for friends, family, and the community. And it's also about tucking in your shirt, being there on time, paying attention, right? It's about much more. It's about the lessons that you can use for your life. Go ahead, Detective. You're going to say something.
Yeah, no, it's the Youth Academy is a great program, because kids get to see what we do on a daily basis, and they get interested, and they also spread the word. And it also, as they get older and turn into teenagers and adults, they recognize us. And, because a lot of times, like, young kids, what they see on the news, like, sometimes they see and of course when they're driving, they're like, oh, I don't want to get stopped and get a ticket. So, but they see us and they realize that we're just human beings. Like, we're the same as them. Like, we have personalities, we can be funny at times, and they have a great time, and they realize that, what, this is, being a police officer can be a fantastic job, and they get to know us, and it's a great program.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to clarify something. So when I was talking about people being soft on crime, just recognize this is a Monmouth County show. I was speaking in general, not about the people in Monmouth County. I've met half the chiefs. I know the sheriff, Ray Santiago, the prosecutor. Nobody here is soft on crime, but I think in general there's a lot of softness on crime in a lot of other areas, and these people that commit these crimes come into Monmouth County. And they're here because they were not locked up when they committed crimes elsewhere.
Oh, 100%.
So I just wanted to clarify that.
We interpreted that on a macro way, 100%, yes. What do you say? Nothing. The strong silent type right here. We're going to open it up to questions in a couple minutes, but a career in law enforcement, if you don't mind me asking, what drove you to law enforcement? What drove you into the career that you chose? I'd like to hear from everyone. And also, and I do want to start with one of the fellows who made this country what it is, our veteran from 82nd Airborne, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The draft brought you into the
I'm sorry, I don't hear well.
What's your take on choosing the services, military service, police service as a career for the next generation? What inspires you for the law enforcement careers? What would you share with the next generation who are thinking about joining the forces, thinking about joining their police departments and the other related professions?
That's a very interesting question. You didn't tell me you were going to ask me that.
No, I didn't. But I know you didn't mind.
My dad went in 1939, came out in 1945, stayed in the reserves his whole life. So I sort of grew up in a military environment. Not sort of, I did grow up in a military environment. I had to go out, shave, shine shoes. So I was always imbued with the need that I should serve the country in the military. And I chose the airborne because I wanted to be with one of the better units. But for the kids today, they need to recognize that you get a lot when you serve, whether it's the military or the police or first responders or fire department. And if you're not going to do it, who is going to do it? And so it comes down to giving part of yourself up to join these organizations and making great friends and serving your community. How was that for an off-the-cuff answer?
Fantastic.
Good.
Now we're going to put the officers on the spot.
Tough to follow, Victor. So my family's been involved in law enforcement. My father was, he started in Trenton, moved to Holmdel, and ultimately retired from Middletown. I have an uncle with the sheriff's department. I have two cousins that are officers up in North Jersey, and both my grandfathers served in Korea. So like we're always around that. Like when we were younger, just that sense of service. And it's a very good career. I feel like people might be discouraged nowadays, but it is still fulfilling. A lot of times, people say, I'd be a fireman. Everybody loves firemen. It's true. They always come to save the day. A lot of times we're interacting with people, in their worst moments, but there's also moments where you're helping people, and serving the community, and it is rewarding in that sense.
Thank you.
No, I just did this for the pension. No, I'm just kidding. No, my father was a police officer for 33 years. He was lieutenant up at the Port Authority. He fought in the Vietnam War as well. I'm the youngest of five, and my two sisters and my brother are also police officers, so I come from a large family of police officers. So like I said, I did corporate for 7 years, and I always wanted to become a police officer, and corporate was never my thing. And when I became a police officer, it was probably the best change I ever made. I can honestly say it's as John said, like, you know, you have your ups and downs in your career, like, you know, you're dealing with people on their worst day, unfortunately, but like one of the most satisfying things is helping somebody that's having a bad day, and, you know, they tell you like, oh, thank you so much for your help. Or even as a detective, like one of the most satisfying things is calling a victim who's been a victim of a terrible crime and being like, hey, we caught this guy, and they're so grateful, and you get such validation and such gratification that, like, you know what, I helped this person out, and nothing can really top that. And that's one of the things that I love doing in regards to this job. But like I said, I've always wanted to become a police officer, and I feel like and as John said, it's, you know, in this day and age, the job's a little bit more tougher now, but this job is what you make of it, and it's a fantastic career.
No, good for you. And it's not a simple task. The background checks, the testing, the physical challenges, to get through to be a sworn law enforcement officer, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Sure is.
Michael?
Yeah.
Well, I grew up around two uncles who one was a state trooper, one was a municipal police officer, and hearing their cool stories, looking at them in their amazing uniforms. And my uncle had a take-home trooper car. He lived with us for a while, and I used to wash it with him on the weekends, play with the siren and everything, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And I'll tell you what, teaching at the police academy too, one of the things we tell the recruits is not only do the citizens of New Jersey deserve the very best police officers doing the very best job, but they also demand it. And if you're not ready to serve that up to them, then there's the door. It's time to leave. Because like these officers right here, they're doing a great job. They're out there to serve their community, to solve problems. That's what law enforcement is. We're out there solving problems and helping in the community. You know, making arrests and stopping for motor vehicle violations is also very important, but it's the community interaction and the problem solving, and that bond you forge with your neighbors and your community members. It's huge.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, there's having a professional law enforcement team in your municipality is so important, and really kudos to Chief Alaco and all the folks that make the team happen in Holmdel, and we're in Holmdel right now. Yeah, thank you very much. You call the police department, they're there quick, they're there ready to go, and for folks that aren't familiar with it, it's AEDs are available, first responder training right on the spot. I volunteered 10 years on a first aid squad, and when we're pulling up, there's a few minutes that go by before you're pulling up. They're already there, they're already on the scene, they may already be working on a patient who needs that life-saving treatment. So it's so much more than many folks realize in terms of the role, the training, and the care. So thank you very much, because a lot of folks may not be aware of that, and they're in that state in one of the most difficult times. They don't even realize how fast you get there sometimes. Sometimes 30 seconds goes by. For them, it feels like an hour, and you're already there. So the response times just in the community are absolutely fantastic. It's one of the most safest towns in the state. Jeannie, could we now open it up to a bit of some questions, and
Yes.
perhaps if the chief wants to share some input from what he's heard, or what you'd like to share with the town?
I want to make a comment first. We have, it's summertime, so it's a little slower, but we have about 70 people tuning into the live feed right now, according to Ming. And someone sent me a text, and this is a person who survived one of the most violent crimes probably in the state of New Jersey, if not one of them in the country. Donna Onshako texted me. She's a survivor of violent crime in her home in Colts Neck, where an intruder stabbed her multiple times. She barely survived. She said, "I'm watching online. This is awesome. I'm screaming inside. Well done." Because people don't talk about crime, you know? And we've had Donna on twice as a guest, and I worked with 48 Hours to produce a segment about her. So if you haven't seen Donna's episode, check 48 Hours, and it's the Donna Onshako special. And these things matter. We really appreciate you coming out and talking and telling, and and every day you're out there protecting the community, and we really appreciate it. So thank you so much to all of you today. Appreciate it.
Terrence, I want to thank you for having us here this morning. This has been an outstanding segment. And I do want to just make sure that anyone, if they have any additional questions, whether it's protecting their residents, protecting their business, they can always reach out for us at any time, call any of our team members, and we're there to answer any questions they have. But I do thank you. Great job, everyone. Thanks, Victor. Thank you so much for Crime Stoppers.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Frank. Or Chief. Thank you, Chief. Yes.
Detective Corrigan's extension is.
Good morning. Great presentation, gentlemen. Two-part question. Number one, what's the status of the SWAT team in Monmouth County? I thought many years ago there were some issues. And number two, it was mentioned earlier that some of you protect some celebrities, and I know we have a few that live in Monmouth County. Any fun stories you want to talk about? What's the difference between covering or protecting a celebrity versus Terrence Wall? That was a joke.
I'll act offended, but I'm not.
That's it, two-part.
Well, unfortunately, I can't give any names or anything. I've signed many non-disclosure agreements, and those are the bread and butter of any security industry, is the anonymity and the right to privacy. But it can be challenging at times, depending on their busy schedules, their many public appearances, advancing a certain area, coordinating with local law enforcement on the ground, which is always key. And any time I've worked in any town, I guess especially coming from law enforcement, it's easy for me to make that connection. A lot of times I've been a liaison for that, and it's just working in conjunction, being able to, quickly be dynamic with it, being able to move. Oh, hey, you know what? No, we're not going to go here. Now we're going to go here. Okay, quick, get everybody over here, get them there. It's just very dynamic. It's always moving and it's always fluid.
Thank you.
He's asking about the SWAT team in Monmouth County.
Yeah, so there's a regional team. It's made up of officers from all the different municipalities. We have 2 officers on like a subset of that. It's the Rapid Deployment Team, or Deployment Force, RDF. I don't believe we have anybody on the active team right now. We used to have 3 officers that were part of MOSERT, is what's the Monmouth County Emergency Response Team. But essentially, we would activate them and they would respond to an incident that, that we request them or needed their assistance. It's Monmouth County, yeah, so it's for Monmouth County.
Yeah, because a lot of the municipalities are like very small sometimes. So like, obviously we're not going to have a large, like for example, Holmdel's not going to have a team of like, 20 guys for a SWAT team. So it's like, it's an acronym, like MOSERT, Monmouth Ocean County Emergency Response Team. So we get the best of the best officers who are like in great shape, great shots with rifles. And what they do is they get alerted when we have like a barricaded subject or when it's necessary to get a SWAT team, and they respond as soon as possible. So like I said, so each department, like locally, like, Coles Neck, Holmdel, Hazlitt, they'll have like 1 or 2 guys and they make up the whole region. So when there is a response for like quote unquote SWAT, all those guys will respond, and then we usually have like commanders like on scene.
Thank you. James.
Hi everyone, thank you again. It's really incredible insight, and thank you all for your service. It's much appreciated. I think Terrence, you brought up the point of just obviously the horrific attacks last night, but to the point of how incredible it is within a few hours you can track a vehicle and see where it's been across the country within seconds almost, I would say. On your guys' side, given whether it be AI or on the sports side, we see now facial recognition within facilities. What's the newest kind of technology that you can disclose, obviously, that you all are kind of utilizing in your day-to-day?
Well, so we use facial recognition is tricky because it's not, you can't use it as probable cause to charge someone. The same with DNA. Everyone thinks you get DNA and like, oh, that's it. You still have to put the pieces together. You can't just charge based solely off of that. But we just had a shoplifting at Marshall's. I'm actually typing complaints today for somebody that we were able to find who this person was through facial recognition. We were able to get arrest photos and match tattoos, which gave us the probable cause to determine that that was that person. We also have license plate readers that are tied in throughout the county, and our detective bureau is also tied into a statewide system, so we can check license plate readers throughout the state. And then we also have like information sharing networks, like Detective Corrigan was talking about. We have a good relationship with the State Police Auto Theft Task Force. Essentially, it's an email chain where we just share information back and forth, and we get a lot of information through that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we also for more serious crimes, we'll work with like obviously the prosecutor's office and the FBI, and obviously we can't disclose too much information, but we have programs that help us like track cell phones, vehicles, and stuff like that. Because as you know, there's a computer chip in everything, man. So like technology is wild nowadays, but we do have a lot of programs and software programs that help us solve crimes. So
I could speak to one thing on that. In the private sector, it's being used by a lot of corporations. This way, if it's an employee that's been fired, someone who's been proven with theft, or just someone who is no longer allowed on the premises, it'll automatically give a hit to their security feed, and then they can either notify the authorities or just meet the person at the the boundary of the property and say, hey, you're not welcome here, and reinforce that.
Thank you very much. Therese? Oh, sorry. Good? Therese.
Okay, finish.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, to technology, it's something that popped in my head. If you're renting a car, don't plug your phone in to the USB or attach to the Bluetooth, because then all of your information, contacts, text messages, emails, everything is now stored in that. They refer to it as infotainment system. It's a computer, and it saves everything. When you move the car out of park into neutral, into reverse, like, that's all documented, time-stamped, and everything saved there. So if someone knows what they're doing, they can access that information and have, your contacts, things like that. So if you're ever renting a car, don't attach to the infotainment system.
Yeah, and then even if you're selling your car, if all it takes is one hookup through Bluetooth and all your phone's information's on there. Because, like, I remember, it's like 2 years ago, I actually bought a car, and I'm scrolling through, and the previous owner's information was still on there. I actually deleted it. I'm like, but a lot of people don't realize that. And as Detective McGuire said, if you hook up your phone once with Bluetooth, everything transfers over, and it's actually pretty crazy.
It's amazing.
That is such good advice. We don't think about those things. Now, if we're selling the car, maybe, but not if you're renting. You don't realize that that's happening.
Yeah, and some models will ask you if you want to store your things, but I don't think people really. They'll be like, oh yeah, like, I'm only in the car for a certain amount of time. I'll have my contacts loaded, but it's there essentially forever unless the car's factory reset by a dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and never use public Wi-Fi without a VPN.
Okay.
So that's
good advice. Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here and sharing all your information. Detective Corrigan, when you retire from the police force, you'd be a great radio voice, just saying.
That's what the guys at work say.
See? Listen. Good advice. Victor, I just have a question for you, because I know you spent a long time as a financial planner. What made you decide to get into Crime Stoppers? Just curious.
I don't hear it very well. I lost a lot of my hearing, but I think how did I get involved in Crime Stoppers?
Yeah.
I was hijacked by Kevin Burke, who was a retired major in the state troopers. And he was the president of Crime Stoppers, and I was on the board. And he was very busy with the polar bear plunge. And we were having dinner every year, because I'm a Nick Saban fan, and his son went to Clemson, and we were betting every year and got to know one another. And he came to me one year, about 6 years ago, and said, well, you're a combat veteran, you have management experience, I think you should be the next president of Crime Stoppers. And I said, well, I'm new on the board, I've only been on the board a short time, for a year, I don't really know all the board members, why are they going to make me the president? And he said, because I said so, and you're going to be the president. And so he went to the board and said Vic should be the president, and so 6 years ago I became the president.
Nice. Excellent, excellent.
So
thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing.
When you thank me for my service, whatever it is, you also have to thank my first wife.
Okay.
Because for 58 years, she has supported me in everything I've done.
Aww.
And you really can't put the kind of time in we did in Crime Stoppers if you don't have spousal support.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people realize that.
I think that goes for everybody sitting on this panel today.
How was that for a girly answer? It was the same thing with the police.
Yeah,
you need
exactly.
you need spousal support.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Family
without a
expenses.
loving, supportive family,
Yeah.
you cannot move forward with vigor and certainty. So that's 100% accurate. And thanks for sharing that. Good.
I just want a last thing. I always have to say thank you to the Walls, because without them, this would never happen. They're amazing, an amazing power couple. We love having them as part of the chamber.
It's a wonderful
And
opportunity to get people
we love
together
having
once
the
a month.
panels, so
Thank you, Therese. And what we'd like to do, first, we want folks to, and you've shared a little bit while we're here talking, is how to contact your organizations, and the chief had shared as well that, and I'll tell you, a lot of folks don't know that they can contact their local police department for so many different things, for making sure that the child's seat is installed correctly, to the doing an audit of the safety in the home and the business, which It's just not talked about enough as a resource. But what I'd love to hear before we wrap up is like, what's the next big thing for you and your organization, and how folks can reach you and what you do. So if we could start with you, Victor, if you can, what's the next big thing for you, for the organization, if you'd like to share that, and any messages you want people to leave here with today?
Well, our big problem is civilian awareness, and so we've just brought on Mike Toto, who is a veteran, and he is going to put together a civilian awareness program by getting additional volunteers and putting posters and brochures in a lot of the businesses in Monmouth County, which we have already been doing in the law enforcement departments to try to spread the program. But people can call me at 908-415-0403 if they want to volunteer. We always have something they can do.
And website?
Website is monmouthcountycrimestoppers.com.
Thank you so much.
I guess in my capacity, the next big thing is, unfortunately, the summer is flying by, so school's going to be here before we know it. And then, I don't know if I said it before, but I'm the juvenile detective. I was the school resource officer. So our activity definitely has an uptick once school's open. But to your point, like contacting us, notifying us, so we still have dispatchers within Holmdel Township. A lot of the municipalities moved to direct line through Monmouth County Communications. So people within the township can still contact us at 946-4400 and speak directly to a dispatcher and be transferred to one of us, and also 911, you know, if it's an emergency. But if people are looking for information, like you said, like we have a car seat program, we have a lot of programs to offer. They can contact the department directly, and they'll be routed to the correct person for that.
Thank you very much. Detective Corrigan.
Yeah, he pretty much said everything, you know, well said. But yeah, no, we're always an open book, you know. Like I said, you always call us or even come into headquarters. A lot of people come in and, you know, report crimes, and that's probably the best thing because you get to speak to an officer face to face. But yeah, email, phone call. But like I said, I always recommend coming into headquarters and speaking with us face to face. So.
With baritone.
Bass. Yeah.
Bass. Michael.
Next big thing for us is we have locally the Jewish Carnival and Deal coming up in August, and then we'll be heading to Boston for a week for the LPGA Tour. We're going to be the on-site canine for after Boston PD does the sweeps, any unattended packages, late deliveries, resupply deliveries, dignitaries arriving. We'll be sweeping vehicles and just keeping the area safe with local law enforcement and security. We can be reached at DeLucaSecuritySolutions.com, and my phone number is 732-921-8963. Again, I don't mind speaking to anyone, giving free advice, and giving an assessment, letting you know if K-9's what you're looking for, or if you just want regular security guards or any type of closed-circuit TV type stuff. I can refer you to other vendors I work with. Be my pleasure.
No, thank you. It's DeLucaSecurity.com.
DeLucaSecuritySolutions.com.
DeLucaSecuritySolutions.com. Just referencing it again because there are incredible businesses right here in Bellworks, and I'm sure there are many of the folks that that needed to hear that website and be aware of the topic today, the work that we're doing today, and I want to thank all of you for being here. Mom, you know what? How remiss and how I must have a cat somewhere that would be that rude to not mention you. Bring this
Yeah, come here, bud. Here,
come on. Get up here. Get up here. Get up here.
Come here.
All right. What's the next big thing? A steak?
Breakfast.
A nice steak? I tell you, these are the folks that are keeping us safe. They're keeping our community safe. They're providing actionable information across the board, including this fine four-legged fellow. You have a team. There's a team in your town. There's a team in this town, in the region, in the county, in the state. And we embrace the work that you do. We thank you for your service. We thank you on behalf of the community. We thank you for everything that you're doing to help make New Jersey the best place to live, work, and play, raise a family, and walk a dog. Thank you very much, everyone. Round of applause for our members and our guests.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
if
you
don't
very
mind,
much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. If we could come on up, let's take a quick picture, if you don't mind. I'll just take a second for the folks that are here. And we very much appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you next month, typically last Tuesday of the month, right here in the famed Epic Bellworks. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you, Ming. Shared Universe Podcast. Thank you.